This is another video with Mr. Mitchell.
Hey, I'm not making a video. You are.
Well, I'm your son, so I am a Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, well, what's your video going to be about?
It's going to be about the Franks.
Hot dog! I love those things.
No, not those.
Hey, Frank Sinatra, he's got the world on a string.
No, I'm not doing this about Frank Sinatra.
Currency?
No, not that either.
Well, what's it about?
It's about the ancient Franks of Germany.
Well, I guess you'll have to tell me all about it.
Okay, so here we go. The Franks were a loose assortment of tribes. You had different kinds of Franks. You had the Salian Franks, or I think the Salian Franks, and the Ripuarian Franks. Those are the two ones that will become important. And you also had obscure kind of ones like the Mosin Franks and the Hessian Franks.
Looks like they're near modern-day Germany.
Yeah, they are. And you see Paris is kind of close too. In the early days, how much livestock you owned determined how wealthy you were in the community.
I'm a poor, poor man, if that's the case.
Yes, you are. And the Franks used every part of the animal. They either ate it, they wore it, or they made more tools with it. And their weapon of choice was the axe.
Is that what they killed their pigs with?
They mostly used it for battle. And you see, it was very lightweight. It only weighed about 2 pounds. Yeah, that's a 2. Only weighed about 2 pounds. And you can see all this is wood up here, so you didn't have to have too much raw material, meaning. And this was all the iron you really needed right up here. And the axe head would pulverize wooden shields because the front of the axe was kind of like that. And then point it dipped in, and the point of it is that the shields were being shattered as the axes were coming down, and then they would be shattered again as the axes were being pulled out, and that would just rip through the enemy's shields when they went to battle.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool. And they weren't just backwoodsy hicks. They had some civilization. They needed that to make the axes. They had furnaces, and you might be wondering, swords are so much better. Why didn't they just make swords? Well, they didn't have too much iron, plus the axes had a distinct advantage. They threw them at enemies like modern-day knife throwers, making sure it spun, and the axes would just barrel through whatever was there. And the Franks were pagans for the majority of their time here on Earth. The early Franks believed that they descended from Quinotar, a part man, part bull, part sea creature god. Yeah, they got a little backwoodsy hick in them. But
Just take an axe to that creature.
I don't think they ever saw one of these. I would if I saw it, though.
So when they become Christian?
They converted to Christianity about when Clovis married a Catholic woman. This was in the year 496. He converted, and the rest of the country followed soon thereafter. He was one of the Merovingian kings. And we've got Clodio the Long-Haired here. He was the first Merovingian ruler, and these Frankish kings kept their hair long to distinguish themselves from the common people in the crowd, as if the gaudy clothes they probably wore didn't distinguish them. And this man was the great-grandfather of Clovis, who introduced Christianity to the Franks. And you could be wondering, I've seen long hair on kings before. Didn't the French kings wear long hair?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was wondering.
you might be wondering, again, could the Frankish custom of long-haired kings have led to the large wigs worn by French kings?
Did they?
No, a quick search shows that baldness and diseases were the reason for the wigs as opposed to the Franks. Interesting little snippet though, the Clovis Merovingian king who brought Christianity to the Franks, his name would evolve with the times and it would turn out to be something like, Louis. I think there were a grand total of like 18 King Louis that ruled France.
Oui, oui.
And here's Charlemagne. This was the Carolingian king. He started with very little land in comparison to how he ended his reign. And we can tell that the long-haired king concept is probably just a Saline Frank custom, because the hair is cut down to here, whereas the Saline Franks would probably have it down to about here. And Charlemagne's vast empire started off in this little purple area right here.
Where modern day France is.
Yeah. France, Franks, the Franc. I don't see how that ties in with Frank Sinatra or hot dogs, though. Well, Charlemagne went to the British Isles, went through Spain and Portugal down to this little tip of Africa right here, conquered all the way into Rome, Italy, went along the Danube River, didn't seem to want to go past there, conquered through Constantinople, which is modern-day Istanbul, went all the way here to the tip of the Euphrates, came down through the Holy Lands of Jerusalem, went through the mouth of the Nile, and went all the way up here through Carthage. And he ruled the majority of the coast of Africa, the north coast that is, except for this little section right here. That's the only part he didn't rule over in the coast of Africa to the north, bordering the Mediterranean Sea. Yeah. So Charlemagne was a pretty good ruler. He conquered a ton of stuff. And even Adolf Hitler's conquests didn't measure up. Charlemagne ruled more than Adolf Hitler, and we see Adolf Hitler as a conquering man who came through and took over. And Charlemagne lived in around the year 820, and Napoleon was a good centuries later, and Napoleon lived in the 1600s or 1800s. Oh yeah, wow, I feel stupid now. But Napoleon conquered just as much as Charlemagne did, and he even had some territory in the United States of America too. So Napoleon had more than Charlemagne, but he wouldn't have if America didn't exist like it did at the time of Charlemagne. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your empire.
Didn't Charlemagne have to conquer Rome? I mean, surely they wouldn't just give him Rome, would they?
Well, the Roman Empire didn't give it to Rome.
Who did?
Pope Leo III gave up Rome, Italy, and the surrounding parts to Charlemagne in the year 800 on Christmas Day. Pope Leo had this problem. The people were rebelling against him, and he didn't have the authority to squash the rebellion, so he bestowed the power on someone else. And Charlemagne got some more land without having to go out and wage war and lose lives. And the Roman Empire had moved out of Rome earlier. A few centuries ago, actually. You see, Rome is right here, and the empire was weak and vulnerable in Rome because the capital had moved way over here to Constantinople. That's over 820 miles away. That's a long ways to travel by foot. And they practically left Rome to be taken by whomever wants it when they moved to Constantinople. And Charlemagne didn't just take up the name the Roman Empire or the Second Roman Empire. He went for the Holy Roman Empire. The Franks would never again be known as the Franks. They'd be referred to as the Holy Roman Empire. And the Holy Roman Empire was called the Holy Roman Empire because the Pope had crowned Charlemagne, therefore making it holy, and it was in Rome where he was crowned, the ex-capital of the Roman Empire. But all good things must come to an end. Charlemagne's Holy Roman Empire fell and crumbled in the hands of his grandsons. They had divided up the kingdom, which wasn't uncommon or even unheard of. It was actually a custom. The Frankish kings would divide their kingdom between their sons, all of them. And his grandsons ended up overspending, and they used to import silver from the Arab Muslims in the Middle East, and the grandsons overspent, and with their overspending they couldn't import the silver anymore, and since the Arabs had no income and the silver was not being bought, no silver for the Holy Roman Empire, the Arabs, who had no income, turned to raiding and pillaging. They went to the Holy Roman Empire, raided and pillaged it, and the Holy Roman Empire was in shambles. It was like a toy that Charlemagne's grandsons had broken, as if they were three whining, snobby kids who all wanted the toy and ended up ripping it to pieces. The Holy Roman Empire was re-established, though, by Otto the Great, although it was many generations later. And that's how the Frankish kingdom set its mark in history. That good? It's still doing that, isn't it? Is it still filming?
I suspect it is.
Oh, joy. I wonder if this would do it. Oh, no, that just...
Oh, there we are. We can get out of PowerPoint, go File. Oh, there we are. Okay, now hit